What is this Dementia Friends scheme? What's the aim of it?
The aim of it, it's a national government initiative where the government are hoping to achieve 1 million dementia friends by next year. At the moment, I checked the website this morning, there's 372,000 dementia friends. And the reality is that 1 in 3 of us over 65 in the next 10 years will have some form of dementia. There are over 100 different types of dementia which people aren't aware about. And it's about being compassionate for people that may, get the condition, dementia, whatever way that happens. And so that's what it's about.
And being a dementia friend, that's sort of going about your daily business, but having this increased awareness that some of the people you come into contact with might be sufferers.
Yes. So, for example, if I'm running a dementia friend session, at the end I would say, would you like to become a dementia friend? And I hope everyone's going to say yes. In order to become a dementia friend, you need to turn that understanding into action. Now, when I say that to people, sometimes people think, oh my God, what have I got to do? Have I got to do a massive charity thing? No, they don't. It can be something as simple as wearing their little dementia badge, which they receive at the end, which is a little forget-me-not blue and yellow badge, which can sort of formulate a conversation. If you stood at the bus stop, somebody might say, oh, what's that? Or other people might say, oh, I know what that is. You're a friend, so am I. It can be next time you do a coffee morning for charity, look at it for dementia rather than maybe another condition. It could be, ironically, I'm doing a charity walk for the Great Wall of China next year. Although I'm self-funding it, I'm raising money separately for Alzheimer's Research UK because it's a great charity but seriously underfunded.
Isn't it also about just changing the way that you actually behave towards people?
Yes,
with dementia?
very much so. I think one of the big problems with dementia, or the big issues around it, is the stigma attached to it. It's a huge thing. People have a perception that when you have dementia, oh, if I say that and the person with dementia gets upset, that's okay, don't worry about it because when I've gone, they'll forget about it. Yes, they may forget about the argument, but they're not going to forget about the emotion that they feel.
Can you give me an example of a kind of situation where somebody with dementia comes into contact with a dementia friend and that person is able to, help them or?
Well, there's been lots of different sort of controversial ideas of how to relate to people with dementia. Now, it used to be that a lot of people, and this is no criticism, but if somebody had dementia and, for example, the person with dementia said, and at this point they're, say, 85 and they're saying, oh, I've got to go and pick up my daughter from school, which obviously wouldn't be the case because they're 85 and that was back in the past. The reality is a lot of people would say, no, you haven't, Mrs. Smith or Mum or whatever, don't be silly, of course not, which that's how we approach that, and that's through naivety, I think, mainly, and unawareness, and I think what's one of the things that we talk about a lot is validation therapy. So rather than saying, oh, don't be silly, you might say, oh, so what did you do? Well, what time did they finish school? And you might sort of kind of formulate a conversation based on that. A lot of people would say, well, that's not great because that you're colluding with them. But I think it's about being with them in the moment and connecting with them rather than telling them they're wrong. As it is, the condition is challenging enough to be told that they're wrong and is very confusing. It's just going to cause more problems.
Right, so tell me a bit about these sessions that you're going to be running.
Okay, the sessions last about an hour. They're really informal. I like to make mine really informal. I'm running them at the moment for a maximum of 20 people because I'm aware that it's a very emotive topic, and based on that, people might want to share their own personal experiences, although that's not what it's about. It's not a counselling session, it's about relaying information to people, but I'm having a counselling background. That is sort of the way I deliver things as well, and it's also about being on people's level, not sort of talking at them but talking with them and sort of facilitating it out. So that session, for example, I would start by sort of introducing myself and then saying, when I say the word dementia, what does it mean to you? People might say fear, anger, aggression. Most of the words that come up have negative connotations. So based on that, I would say exactly that. They've got negative connotations. we need to change that. We need to change that because, yes, they do to some degree, but they don't have to. And the government wanted to get the 5 key messages across to everyone, which is what our goal is within the session. So my goal will be to get those 5 key messages across by using a couple of interactive activities, one of which is called broken sentences. So I'd give, I'd give a piece of paper to pairs of people. There would be 12 broken sentences. They would match them up, spend 5-10 minutes matching those sentences up, and then based on that, there would be the 5. All of them would be right, but there would be 5 key messages that the government want to get across, which include. It's not, 5 things you should know about dementia. It's not a natural part of growing old. It's caused by diseases of the brain. The most common of these is Alzheimer's. It's not just about losing your memory. It can affect thinking, communicating and everyday tasks. It's possible to live well with it, and there's more to a person than dementia. So that's the 5 key messages as a champion that want to get across to people. And I'll sort of bring in a couple of other things that may be useful. And I'll also show images of the brain, because depending on which part of the brain is affected depends on how the person with dementia will be. And you cannot generalise. So, for example, if somebody says she's got dementia, she won't be able to remember things. If you think about Terry Pratchett, he's got a dementia type called frontal cortical atrophy, which actually the last thing to go for people with that condition is their memory. So if he went for a diagnosis, it actually wouldn't be picked up because the memory is the last thing that goes rather than the first thing.
Right, so this is all about just, I suppose, as you say, tackling the stigma, getting people talking about it.
Very much.
Understanding it.
Yeah, very much indeed.
Running away.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think there's a massive fear attached to it. And actually that's part of the reason that I'm involved in it, because of the fear. I want to feel the fear, go through it, understand it more. I've got a massive interest in the human mind and its capacity, and also how it can deteriorate as well as we get older.
So what should people do if they want to get on board with this?
Okay, so if people, there's lots of ways of being involved with this, and I appreciate there's a lot of charity work out there and people are, we've got limited time, but if you are interested in becoming involved, well, first of all, you can become a friend if you want to. I discovered this, so I was halfway through my degree in health and social care. I chose the dementia care module, and then doing research for that led me to the website Dementia Friends. And what I then did is I looked down and it said how to become a champion, and I thought, it said something about some of days free training. So I looked down and it said search your area for the free training. This was last November 2013. I was going to go to a Plymouth one, but then I thought, well, I'd rather go to Exeter because it saves the driving and stuff with busy lives. Found one in Exeter in mid-January, which I had with a regional somebody that does the training. You do the day's training, and then after the day's training you become then a dementia champion. And then it's about really going out and finding venues. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to do it in a big way. At the moment I've got 100 dementia friends. I've been lucky. It can be that you do them for your friends and family. It can be for, if you're involved with Brownies, Scouts, you can get involved that way. There's a lot of stuff that's going into schools now. So champions are going into schools and sharing children resources. So it's, people are aware of it from a young age. It's important.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's very important, isn't it? Not just adults, but...
Oh, massively. And I think as well, another thing about dementia is people make this assumption, and quite rightly they wouldn't know any different, that when you get dementia you're old. No, that's not the case. You can have early onset dementia, and it can be any age, and it can be also as a result of an accident, head trauma, lots of different issues.